Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick update on my switchgrass. I'm going to go through, I'm going to show a third year stand, a second year stand, and first year stand. So this is the third year stand. This is a third year stand at Cave and Rock. I have the camera at eye level. I'm 6 feet tall. Some of this stuff is actually pushing 9 feet tall. Most of it is probably 7 to 8 feet tall. So what I did with this area, it was bean stubble the year prior to planting, so the weeds had been controlled with Roundup. I came in February. I frost seeded some Cave and Rock switchgrass. Actually, it was probably early March. Came back in April, applied simazine, and I did have to do a little bit of 2,4-D in late July to control the broadleaves because they were kind of choking the stand out. But this stand looked absolutely terrible the first year. I mean, it looked, you couldn't even find 6 strands of switchgrass. And now it is a jungle. So if somebody didn't know much about switchgrass, they probably would have gave up on it. Yeah, if somebody didn't know much about switchgrass, they probably would have given up on it and thought it was a failure. But the fact is, I think because of there was a lot of foxtail the first year that came in, and because of the high dormancy rate of switch, there's a ton of new germination that second year, and last year this area just blew up. So it became super thick, and now this year you can see it's a jungle. So don't give up on the switchgrass. Last year I did hit it with simazine again to help control those cool season grasses. I think I followed up with Roundup before the switchgrass germinated, and that was it. And now it is just super tall. So it just goes to show how thick this stuff can get. And even if that first year it looks like you only got a few plants here and there, I want to show you just how thick even one clump of switchgrass is. So come look at the outside here. So here's one clump. I mean, it's probably 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. That's one seed. So it just goes to show how this stuff, I mean, it does thicken over time. Here's another one. This is one clump. This whole thing is one clump. It's from one seed. And it's super thick. So you can definitely put this stuff on too thick where it starts to choke itself out. But if you seed at the proper rate, you allow it to get tall and not get just super dense, even though this did get pretty thick. I think I put this one on fairly heavy just because it was my test plot, but normally I go about somewhere around 7 to 8 pounds per acre for my switchgrass seeding. So that's the first year stuff. Real thick. Got my 2 helpers in there right there, and it towers over them. So all right, we'll check out the second year stuff next. All right, so here is some second year Shawnee switchgrass. So again, like I did with the Cave and Rock, I'm just going to hold the camera at eye level and show you how tall this stuff is. I would say it is predominantly 5 to 6 feet tall. So Shawnee is a selection from Cave and Rock, but the difference with Shawnee is it's supposed to have a little bit stronger stock, so it should hold up better to the winter elements. But this is a second year stand, so I won't know what I have for sure until the third year. That's when it reaches full maturity. I would say this height, as far as being 5 to 6 feet tall, is pretty comparable to what the Cave and Rock was last year. So there's a good chance that I'll get to see some of that 7 to 8 foot growth on this stuff. All right, Here's a little swale where there's not much growing, but it gets real thick up over here. So I planted this by frost seeding. I did all my prep the year before, like you should with switchgrass. Sprayed it multiple times, burnt it, came in and broadcast in March. About 7 to 8 pounds per acre. Yeah, she gets real thick right here. And did simazine in April, and that was it on this one. Spot sprayed some thistle. That's it. And it grew really well. Actually, this whole area, it's about 2 acres. The switchgrass came in really, really well. Let's see, it's thick. This is second year Shawnee. There's some here. This one is 7 feet tall. This is poorer soil than where I have the cave-in rock too, so that probably will be a factor. But I'm very happy with this growth. I mean, it's plenty tall to hold some deer. The goal with this would be to have, this would be their security cover, you know, during the rut, especially when the hunting pressure ramps up around us and deer are looking for places to hide. This whole hillside back here bumps up next to good bedding, which is right back in the timber. So it should hopefully hold some deer. You can see it's just a sea of switch right down to the path down there. And you can see where the soil's a little bit better at the bottom of the hill here. This is pretty gravelly soil on the hillside. But in the bottom of the hill, this stuff's really tall. It's probably that 7-foot range. So, yeah, I got this from, let's see, I got my cave-in rock in the first video from Grandpa Ray Outdoors. This stuff I got from Ernst Seed out of Pennsylvania. I haven't found somebody that sells it for cheaper than them, and if you look at the seed tag, it's really good stuff. So I planted some more this year. But here you can see this is where the soil gets good, and this stuff is pretty much all over my head. So it's about 7 feet tall, year 2, in good soil. And that is some pretty tall, dense stuff. So yep, this is the Shawnee, and it definitely thickened too. I mean, I got a pretty good take on the first year on this stuff, but it's getting pretty dense this year. It'll keep getting thicker, which I'm okay with. I just want this as security cover. So, all right, I'll go show you a little bit of first year stuff. All right, here's some first year Shawnee, and this is a very dirty stand of switch, but there is plenty of switch in here nonetheless. I mean, look out, it just looks like a sea of foxtail, and foxtail is just a nasty, nasty weed that we have a tough time controlling on our farm, but that's all right. The switch will beat out the foxtail eventually. So, but here you can see, I mean, the switchgrass is here. This is where it did come in all right. There's the switchgrass head right there. There's kind of a good vein of it right here, but it's mostly probably in that 3-foot tall range. Last year when I got a really good first year take, it was about 4 feet tall, the Shawnee, but this year I thought I did some pretty good weed prep out here, but this foxtail has probably been blowing into this field or getting dropped in this field by birds for 20 plus years. It's been dormant for 20 years, and boy, it came on thick. Look at it. Thick when it started to come, and I didn't see a lot of foxtail coming right away, but it started coming about the same time as the switchgrass, so then it's just tough to manage. I did mow once. Should have probably mowed again, because now the foxtail has a seed head on it, but I will do my best next year to manage the foxtail. But here's a spot where there wasn't any foxtail coming. You can see this is all young switch in here. This should get thicker. This is really poor soil right here. That's why it's probably only 2 feet tall, or it's all about 2 feet tall in here. But it'll definitely thicken next year. And I'm not worried about this one bit. I mean, I know it'd be really easy to say this is a fail and just retry or try again next year. But I think I can get this foxtail under control, and I know there's a lot of switchgrass in the foxtail. I can find it. It's just very suppressed right now due to the foxtail. Right here, there's this foxtail all around, and there's that switchgrass right there, right in the middle of it. There's clumps all over in here. It's just getting choked out right now by the foxtail. But that cave-in rock that I showed you, the third-year stuff, looked way worse than this, believe it or not. And you can see how thick it is now. So what I'll do is I'll do the same prep I did this year. I'll put my simazine down in April, and if need be, I will try to hit it with Roundup in May, right before it germinates. And that step you have to be really careful with. You have to look and make sure your switchgrass isn't germinated yet, because if you hit it with Roundup, you'll kill it. But and I'm confident I will have a thick stand of switchgrass here. This is 5 acres. I mean, it's all the way through. You can see the foxtail heads all over. But there is a lot of switchgrass if you get down and start looking at it. So, yeah, so stick with me if you want to see if I can recover this stand. I'm pretty darn confident I will, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to show one other first-year strip of Shawnee that actually came in pretty good that I'm using for screening, and then I will be done. Alright, so here's a little better look at what a first year stand of switch should look like. So this is just a screening strip going all the way along the edge here between the corn and the clover, and yeah, it grew great. I mean, you can see it. It's super thick. It is probably, I mean, pushing, some of it's 5 feet tall. I'd say averaging 4 feet. This is Shawnee, and this was just bean stubble. Frost seeded it right into the bean stubble and made a great little screening strip here. The goal was to kind of screen between the two food plots, so the deer had to actually go from one food plot to the other to check if there were deer in them, and also kind of screen our access, because we have one stand set up here and it's right down there, and I want to screen the access coming in. Our access is coming from kind of that direction, and we sneak right in. And I did an edge feather right there to kind of screen the woods edge, but this is just to add a little extra screening. So yeah, this one came in great. I mean, I have foxtail up here too, but for some reason it just got a way better take. So it looks phenomenal. This is Shawnee, so we'll see how this stuff holds up this fall. All right, that's the switchgrass update for the year. Take care and God bless.